So this weekend, I decided I'd show you guys around Whittier. I'll be shooting Ektar, Portra, Cinestill, and Metropolis. But I'll be shooting these in a particular way, and then I'll be running them through an alternative development process, which I'll go over later in this video. Whittier, Alaska is a small harbor town with an odd history of period importance. Sitting on the other side of Maynard Mountain, the only land access to Whittier is through this tunnel. Used for both highway and railroad travel, it's the longest tunnel of its kind in North America. What was once the land of the Chugach natives, Whittier has remained strategic to Alaska's development because these deep waters remain ice-free year-round. Early Russian and American settlers found this cove to be a perfect place to access the interior. It was again used during the Klondike Gold Rush as a miner's port and supply depot. The last great chapter in this town's eternal saga took place during World War II, when the U.S. Army used this mountain-bordered abode as a safehold against Japanese forces. This natural castle protected them from all sides, even from above. Averaging 20 feet of snowfall in the winter and 15 feet of rainfall in the summer, the constant cloud cover provided a fine safety blanket for U.S. troops to hide beneath. Although the heydays here have long since passed, Whittier serves as an exotic tourist destination for travelers and a playground for the locals. With stunning views, exquisite hikes, serene waters, and abundant wildlife, there's no question as to why those looking for grandeur decided to dock here. As Whittier's main residential facility, the Begich Towers house 98% of Whittier's 200 perennial residents. Just across the parking lot is the only school, responsible for 48 students ranging from preschool all the way to graduating seniors. They've even constructed a tunnel connecting the towers to the school so children can pass safely amid bad weather. Oh shit. Are we film bros? I think we're film bros. Oh. You're doing a thing. Flip out. I'm doing a corner piano, baby. About time. Dude, this is my first taillight photo. I think I'm just going to shoot this on the spot. Strangely enough, these ghost town vibes aren't even due to COVID. This is just winter in a summer town. During the off season, the only two businesses open are the grocery store and this hotel, restaurant, bar. So let's go over how I shot and developed this film. Bleach bypass is when you replace the C41 Blix chemical with a black and white film fixer. Since Blix is just bleach and fix, using just a fixer is how you do the whole bypass the bleach step. But there's a little bit more to it than just that. So the bleach in Blix is responsible for removing the silver from the emulsion. So by removing the bleach, we keep the silver. This results in dramatically brighter highlights as well as decreased saturation. And since we're going to crank these highlights up to 11, we need to compensate by underexposing by about 2 stops. Hence, not shooting any of these films at box speed. So because we're underexposing by 2 stops, but still developing as intended, expect to lose some shadow detail. But meanwhile, we're cranking those highlights to infinity and beyond. So this means you're going to have some wicked contrast. So for all the film in this video, I developed using a standard C41 developer, but I ditched the whole 102 degrees for 3.5 minutes. Instead, I developed for a total of 21 minutes at just 80 degrees Fahrenheit. This should help the shadows retain a little bit more detail, as well as flatten out the tone curve before we blast those highlights to Timbuktu. Should also yield a slightly sharper negative, but it will be a bit grainier. Please take this with a grain of salt. I'm recording this before actually having developed any of the film, so it's all just theoretical at this point. But I think it's important to trust yourself enough to try new things. Besides, There's no right way to expose or develop. As long as you like the results you get, just keep doing it that way. And finally, if you're scanning your film at home and you use digital ice or any other means of infrared dust and scratch removal, you're going to have to cut that out. Because we've left the silver in the emulsion, these infrared methods just won't work. Luckily, most scanners have a secondary method for dust and scratch removal because black and white films also contain high levels of silver. So use that. Oh yes, the Buckner building. The claimed city under one roof. This proxy residuum is a condemned relic of war. Completed in 1953, this housing service and recreational center was designed to store troops and supplies and was once the largest building in Alaska. Shuttered in 1966, it never saw legitimate use. So starting out, shooting film was such a rush. I never knew if I was perfectly in focus or even if I was accurately exposing. But over the last 13 years, the more comfortable I get, the more out of my comfort zone I wished I could be. So it's trips like these that continue to spark my love and passion for film photography. There's just something special about having no clue until it's too late to make any changes. You've just got to commit. Disconnected from mains power, this fortress includes a mess hall, sleeping quarters, a bowling alley, movie theater, a small jail, and tunnels connecting it to the rest of the town. Sitting abandoned for the last 55 years, this is probably the closest thing to Chernobyl I'll ever see. Built with clear Cold War concepts and Bauhaus blueprints, this rebar-reinforced, poured concrete structure managed to survive the Good Friday earthquake. See, most locals think that this place sits empty because of earthquake damage. But in fact, it's due to the US no longer fearing attack from Japan, thus no longer seeing fit to finance a stronghold in Whittier, Alaska. So normally when I shoot Metropolis, I rate it at 400 ISO. But since I'm bleach bypassing, I should be rating it at 1600. But as you see, I've been rating it at 800. That's because when shooting in this building, I know the details will be in the shadows and I don't want to lose them. Plus, I'm hoping that the highlights coming in through the windows will end up completely blown out. I think this nuclear white will suit these scenes very nicely. But like I said earlier, at this point it's all theory. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found both the shots and the location fascinating. And maybe, just maybe, I've inspired you to go off the beaten path, both in location choice and in your photography. I love dipping into the theoretical aspects of film, using pen, paper, and pre-visualization to come up with my next project. Sometimes, don't shoot Portra overexposed by a stop. Yes, you will make mistakes, but revisit those ideas until you don't. That's how you become a photographer. Well, catch you guys in the next one. Later.